Hi everybody. So our video this week is going to be about Aristotle, another philosopher, and his 4 levels of happiness. Now, most people spend their entire lives living out level 1 and level 2 happiness. Level 1 happiness is what is known as immediate gratification. That is when you are the type of person that gets your happiness from stuff, from earthly pleasures. So people that live in this level of happiness have no concerns for anyone outside of their own person. Your only concern is for you. Your only care is for you. The way you feel happiness is through clothing, having the best type of phone, having the best type of car, or by eating, drinking, sexual pleasures, things like that. Your only source of happiness is these quick fixes, this short term, get that dopamine into your brain, make you happy, fleeting happiness. Now, you'll notice if you live in this level of happiness that for a short period of time, say that, somebody else has a phone that is better than your phone. When you get that phone that beats out their phone, it gives you a little bit of satisfaction for a short amount of time, but it does not last. It makes sense, especially given everything that people like in my age group have been through with recessions and things like that, that we do want to have those earthly things. We want to have a nice place to live, the financial security. And the way that we show that we have financial security is through stuff. So there isn't necessarily a huge sin in wanting to be financially secure or anything like that. But the point being, you will never have long-term happiness if the only source of your happiness comes from earthly possessions. They always say that when you die, you can't take it with you. That's the kind of earthly happiness we're talking about. Now, people that live in level 2 happiness are living in comparative happiness. Now, what that means is that your happiness grows from jealousy. You want to be the best. We need other people to be less than us in order to feel happiness. If we aren't better than somebody else, we don't feel like we're important. If somebody excels, does better in athletics or in grades or something like that than us, our self-esteem goes in the toilet because we are no longer number one. Now, when we live in this level of happiness, we are very ego-centered. Everything, again, is all about us. It's not about other people. Just like level 1 happiness, where your happiness comes from material possessions or from eating, drinking, or things like that, you're fully ego-focused. You're focused on yourself. And this applies to a lot of things. So again, if we're competing athletically, intellectually, or even spiritually, if we don't feel like we're on top, we hate ourselves. Again, this level 2 happiness does not last. Now, we see this comparative level through, if you're number 1, if you are beating people out, if whatever your focus is, we can just say that it's athletics. If you feel like you're number 1, most people will be like, they must be so happy because they're number 1. They're the best quarterback. They are the best tennis player. But in truth, people who are in that number 1 position feel constant stress about slipping out of their number 1 position. People that are in the middle, or, God forbid, on the bottom, they live in constant stress too because they can never meet the bar. So they tend to set their expectations for themselves very low because they're like, I can never be that number 1 person. No matter if you're the best or the worst, you do not get long-term satisfaction out of comparing yourselves to others because it's a negative-focused, a jealousy-based happiness. People that live in this level usually exist in loneliness and isolation because of their focus on negativity so much. Now, Aristotle will say that when people graduate to level 3 and level 4, it's when they really start to feel true, full happiness. Level 3 happiness is what is known as contributive happiness. Now, if you have ever been in a situation, we can just say that you have a sibling that needed help with homework or with cleaning the room, and you helped them and you brought that other person happiness, that is level 3 happiness. That is contributive happiness because you are no longer ego-focused. You are no longer focusing on what is happening just for you, just for your own personal satisfaction. Now you are turning yourself outward to other people. Comparative happiness also comes in charity work. in things like charity work, this is a Christian level happiness. This is when you are giving yourselves to other people and focusing on your community and sharing love, and you are seeing the fruits of that, and it is filling your soul. Now, level 3 happiness is still a bit of an ego focused happiness, because you are kind of like, wow, I did such a good thing and it feels good. You know, there's a lot of people that do charity work that you never hear the end of them doing charity work, because there is still a little bit of feeding that ego, like I am so good, I'm so holy. However, moving into this level of happiness does give you more long-term happiness when you're giving yourselves to other people. Now, Aristotle will say, and the church agrees with this, that the only true level of happiness that gives you long-term sustained happiness is level 4. And level 4 is this ultimate good happiness. So this level is no longer focused on material things of the world or ego focused like the other 3. When people are in level 4, they actively begin to seek out perfection in justice, beauty, goodness, truth, and being. However, they are very well aware that that does not exist within the material world. They are embracing, as we talked about in last week's video, being in the image and likeness of God, which is recognizing that there are things beyond you. They have fully embraced the recognition of something beyond them, of something greater beyond them. Now, when people live in this level 4 happiness, they are able to appreciate the world, the material things, with its lack of perfection, because they know that there will be an eventual perfection later on for them when they are reunited, when their souls are rejoined with God fully. This level gives you a lot of freedom, because you are able to appreciate everything in life just exactly as it is. It doesn't matter if something's flawed, because you get to a place where you aren't competing with somebody who's flawed, or you are not necessarily like getting your happiness from flawed food, or you're not getting your happiness from flawed relationships. You are able to recognize that Christ still dwells in those places, even when it's imperfect. And you are able to turn yourself completely outward and recognize that there is something so much greater and so much more than the things that you can get on earth. Now, think fully about what levels you're at and be honest with yourself, because the truth of the matter is every single person, because again, we are not perfect, we are going to fluctuate in all those levels. When you grow more spiritually, emotionally, and just in maturity and self-awareness in general, which, you know, some people never do. Some people never grow in self-awareness. But if you put yourself on the path of growing in self-awareness, you're going to begin to recognize, I am seeking happiness through purchasing things, or I am seeking happiness through relationships with other people, or I'm seeking happiness by beating out somebody else, and I no longer want to be that person. When you have self-awareness and you recognize it is easier to start giving yourself away in charitable works, and it's even going to become easier to recognize there's something bigger out there, something greater beyond myself that will bring me true, fulfilling happiness. So think about who you are, what level of happiness you think you're living in, and think about, you know, the habits you can form to move yourself out of it. And I look forward to your discussion questions. Have a great day.